Hello and welcome back to the show. So I'm really excited here for our guest that is joining us for today, Michael Cameron, who is somebody who has probably one of the most extensive resumes, not just in real estate, not just in business, but probably in all walks of life. And I think he's going to talk a ton about all the experiences that he's had in real estate, education, technology, and just being an entrepreneur in general. Michael Cameron is the owner of Cameron Realty and also Cameron Academy as well, training real estate agents in getting licenses and certifications. And he's joined here by a friend today. Who's the friend?
I'm just kidding with you. This is the Cameron Academy mascot. One of my students is a famous, I can't say what company they work for, but they're a famous puppet creator. They were on multiple TV shows and so forth. And I said, what would it take for you to make a mascot for our business, for Cameron Academy? And she made this for me. It took her 8 months to make this. So it's pretty significant. It's one of my prize items, but he wanted to come out and say hi. All right, enough of that.
That is
Not
awesome,
at all. Anyhow,
man. I think that's awesome, man. So you guys can tell, Michael has a lot of fun and he loves what he likes. He loves what he does as well in the day-to-day life and just in his business. But Michael, man, welcome to the show. And, I'm really glad you're taking some time out of your day to join us.
thank you. Thank you so much, Kobe, for having me on the show. You got a pretty cool platform here. You got a lot of really good guests. I listen to a lot of your podcasts, great information that you're providing to the public. It seems like you're all about education, which resonates with me, educating the public. And that's what we do for a living. So, among other things, but mainly education. It's a form of giving back. So kudos to you on pursuing that. It's not always a thank. It's a thankless job. Let's just say that some of the time, but you do it long enough, you get some recognition.
Yeah, hopefully, right? So thank you for that, man. I appreciate it. And I know, you're huge in education as well. So, we love providing value and information to others in a real estate entrepreneurship space. And yeah, so before we dig right on in, Michael, I'd just love for you to be able to share with us a little bit about, who you are, how you got into real estate in the first place, and really what led you to creating your own training academy to help agents get licensed, get certified and actually help other professionals do the same as well through your platform.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess I could start by saying that I never thought real estate was going to be a thing for me. I never thought that I would pursue real estate as a career. If I'm being honest, I thought I was going to be a famous music producer. I was started producing music when I was in middle school with a close friend of mine at the time, and I produced music throughout middle school, high school, and a little bit of college. I am a college dropout. Unfortunately or fortunately, I saved some money, I guess we could say, right? With all the student debt and everything going on, regardless of the fact that it's getting wiped out. But anyhow, as I digress, I thought I was going to be a music producer, and I worked with a few major artists, uh, Brandy, Two Chains, some indie pop artists, but nothing that got picked up for an album, nothing that made any money. And I still have this music in my archive. I'm proud of those accomplishments and being in the studios with these very talented people, but it wasn't paying the bills. So I needed to do something. I got a little desperate and I figured, let's give real estate a shot. So I was 18. None of my friends were thinking about doing anything close to real estate, but I like to do things that are not easy and that not everybody else is doing. And I gave it a shot, and I haven't looked back ever since. I got my associate license, which most states is like real estate salesperson, introductory to real estate. Then I got my mortgage license. I got my appraiser's license. I got my broker's license. Currently own and operate my own brokerage company, Cameron Realty. We are not competing with not even boutique brokerage companies. I focus on my own deals mainly and to have access to the MLS so I can promote properties that I'm flipping. Uh, once I felt like I had enough confidence to bring value in the space, I decided to get my real estate instructor's license and I truly found a passion for giving back. Teaching is a form of philanthropy, in my opinion. It's a way to give people the tools so that they can become successful uh, in their own path. So I found a passion for teaching. They say not everybody can teach, but I truly love it. And we own Cameron Academy. We've been around for over 20 years, providing exceptional real estate education. At least that's where we started in Central Florida, but then we expanded throughout the state and then nationally. And now, not just for real estate, but also for mortgage, and then branched off into insurance. We're adding construction and eventually nursing. And our goal is to be an online educational hub for licensing courses for various professions throughout the nation. And I think we're doing a good job of setting ourselves apart from anybody else in the industry. I don't think anybody is doing what we're doing, at least to the scale that we're trying to accomplish. And also injecting a lot of tech into education, which I think resonates with a lot of people. Not only does information change, but how we learn it as the today student. And technology is big. We know that most people are glued to their devices. This is where they get most of their news and so forth. Education lives online. And we look crazy in the beginning for trying to be pioneers in this space, but you start off being called crazy, then you get a little bit of recognition, right? And everybody starts emulating the same path, and we're very proud of that. And we've always been ahead of the curve as far as technology and education. First school in the state, if not the nation, to offer computerized testing for the class exam. I made probably about 14, 15 different mobile apps to help you prepare for various exams, whether it be real estate, mortgage, insurance, which we're revamping and launching soon, which is going to live on CameronAcademy.com and on the app stores. And we're the first school in the state to offer live streaming classes. And this is before the pandemic. And a lot of our competitors didn't like that. But the pandy hit, and then we looked like geniuses. Not to boast or brag, but I think it's important for your listeners to hear that if you have that gut instinct that you feel like something is going to be valuable, it fills somebody's need, you have to pursue it. You can't wait until you see it on the news somewhere, right? That somebody else has took that baton and ran with it, because no idea is sacred. No idea is sacred. Everybody has come up with the same idea. It's who's first to market, right? First mover advantage, uh, blue ocean strategy, right? All of that. It's a beautiful thing. So we're proud to be in this position right now. I flip dozens of properties. I've been involved in every transaction you can imagine. We just exited a multifamily apartment building that I constructed from ground up on the beach on the Gulf Coast and the Gulf of Mexico. And I rolled that into other investments that we're making right now, because I'm big on technology, I'm big on crypto. I think there's space for that in real estate as well. I don't know if you're into crypto or your listeners, but I can speak to that. I've made my own cryptocurrency coin for an endeavor that kind of failed, if I'm being honest. But I tried it out, and it was a good shot. And I'm doing a few other cool things as well that I don't mind sharing, but I guess that's a small piece about who I am. I like a challenge, and they kind of say don't be a jack of all trades, because then you'll be a master of none, right? But the top of one mountain is the beginning of the next for me. I like a challenge, and I always want to do something new. Um, but that's a small piece of who I am, and hopefully we can discuss some really cool topics while we're here.
Yeah, no, it sounds like from all the things you've done and all the things you've experimented with, you're almost channeling like an inner Thomas Edison there, right there, right? Creating all these new
Hi,
things.
Kobe. I'm so glad you said that. In a different life, I feel like I could have hung out with Nikola Tesla or something like that, right? I wish.
Yeah, creating all kinds of new things and new ideas, and you're applying all the lessons, I guess, from different industries in all of your new endeavors and different things you're trying as well. But something I kind of wanted to really kind of get your take on was you mentioned you started in real estate back when you were 18. So it's probably the earliest somebody can start in real estate. I think now these days with a lot of online strategies, there's stories of other kids who are a lot younger than 18 wholesaling real estate and building businesses in real estate as well. But for most people, they start when they're 18, right? That's when you can actually start transacting as an agent. That's when you can actually start owning properties as well. So, what was it like to kind of jump in at that age where, it's probably the earliest somebody can start in real estate? Did you run into, I would say, like any challenges either facing potential clients in the public or even just internally as far as confidence wise, starting at 18 in real estate?
Yeah, it's actually a great question. And hopefully you have some younger listeners that can take something from this, because it's important for them to hear that if at 18 years old, what do you take serious, right? It's difficult to take anything serious, let alone yourself and starting a career. You're trying to figure yourself out and what you want to do. And that was kind of the genesis of this journey, figuring out if it's a good fit for me. I try a little bit of college, and that wasn't a good fit for me. I was kind of simultaneously doing college and real estate at the same time. And I said, let me focus on this real estate thing and give it a shot. But the beautiful thing about real estate is you can start, what I've seen from hundreds of thousands of students we've taught over the past 20 years. You can start at any age and become successful in this business. You've seen it, I've seen it, everybody's seen it. But if I can give some advice to the younger crowd based on experience, is take it serious. Because if you talk to anybody, a seasoned real estate veteran who's been around or been in the business for 20, 30 years, they'll tell you, you can be an absolute beast. If I knew today, right? If I could take that knowledge that I have today and put it in my younger self, I'd absolutely take over. So if you can actually realize that opportunity that sits in front of you, you'll be unstoppable, because there's so many different ways to make money in this business. It's absolutely insane. Wholesaling is another thing I was fighting for a long time. Uh, Believe it or not, wholesaling, I thought it was a joke. I thought wholesaling was a phase. It was going to come and go. I thought it was going to get regulated and shut down, mainly because at the time I'm teaching real estate. So what do I teach? I teach laws, rules, regulations, and so forth. And I'm thinking, and I've seen enough where I'm like, okay, this looks a little bit sketchy. But if you put that to the side, the people that are just being riffraff and don't know how to conduct themselves in this transaction, don't know how to structure in the right way where they're following regulation. Wholesaling is a pretty cool thing, and I think you can make a lot of money in it, at least starting out. But you're better off having a license than not. These wholesalers are leaving money on the table. Wouldn't you agree with that? Imagine
Yeah.
if you imagine if you have a real estate license and you're wholesaling at the same time, you're not going to miss out on any opportunity, because probably 90% of the people you call, they know what their property is worth. They want to get market value. They're looking on Zillow. They're saying, okay, before I accept any deal, let me kind of do some research. Let me ask some friends what they think my property is worth. And when you give them this low ball price and you try to sell it and make it sound, fluff it up, we call it puffery in the business. Um, you could do all of that, but if they want to stick to what they think their property is worth, then you kind of just let it fall wayside. But if you have your real estate license, that's a listing opportunity. And hopefully, there's wholesalers that are listening to this platform that understand that and get their butt license. What are they waiting for? It's really sad when I come across a wholesaler where we're talking about the deals that they've done and so forth, and we talk about whether or not they should have a real estate license, and they're really hesitant and get a little bit defensive about it. But I'm just trying to put more money in their pocket ultimately. But anyhow, my introduction to real estate was, I guess, not a traditional introduction. At 18, my first job officially ever was selling timeshare. Now, I sold things growing up, legal things, okay? I sold, I heard one of your guests was like selling candy, like chocolate bars or something like that. I did that. I sold candy in school. not like door to door or anything like that, but I was selling to classmates, and then they shut me down. And then I started selling to the teachers, and that was even more lucrative because they actually got the money. I sold T-shirts. I sold not T, CDs and DVDs. If your listeners are old enough to know what those are, because everything is streamed nowadays. But yeah, those were probably gray area as to whether or not I should be selling those. But I never had a job per se, and my first job ever, once I got my real estate license, was selling timeshare. Now everybody's heard something negative about timeshare, right? You've heard something. It's just it's known in the business, uh, but timeshare is going to continue to exist. It's not going anywhere. That's why every major hotel chain is in timeshare. So I got into timeshare. They took a risk on me. I was the youngest person they hired in company history. It was the largest timeshare company at the time. And I thought I was not going to get hired. The interview was basically me asking them questions. Is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I don't know, but maybe I exuded a certain level of confidence that they thought, okay, let's give them a shot. And maybe it was entertaining for them. I don't know. Watch me squirm a little bit. And you have nobody can tell you anything at that age. So I went through the training, and I was one of the last people in my training classes. By the way, the training in timeshare sales training is absolutely amazing. If you're just starting out in real estate as a young person, I would recommend it. Try it. You might find that it's something that you enjoy doing. But anyhow, that's besides the point. They taught me the psychology of sales. I took that for granted, and I kind of still try to do my own thing and taking the parts that I liked from the presentation I was supposed to do. I had to get out of my own way, put my ego to the side. I didn't know how to do that at a young age. Uh, so I was one of the last people. I almost got fired. I had a ride along, and one of the top reps, he gave me some notes. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I mean, the stuff they're telling me to say in the presentation is corny. I wouldn't say that to somebody." He said, "You got to get your act together." And now I consider this individual a mentor to me. And he's one of the top timeshare salespeople. He's not leaving that profession. He's high level, high ranking, and all that great stuff. And I still ask him for advice. And he said, first of all, you look like a riffraff, right? The way you're dressed, you got to get a suit, all right? Do something to make yourself look older. Put a wedding ring on, right? Or a fake wedding. Throw some glasses on or something. Very real with me. That's what I needed to hear. And he said, we invested millions of dollars into this training. And that's what they do. Millions of dollars into the psychology of sales. You know how important this is? You know how fantastic this is? You're taking it for granted. You're going to miss on this opportunity. So get your butt in shape. I said, okay, I'll do it your way. And then within 6 months, I became one of the top 5 sales reps. And, but I always, in the back of my mind, I wanted to get into residential. I wanted to do other things. So I made a lot of money in timeshare. I left on a good note. And then I went into residential, and I felt like I was unstoppable because the sales training, that foundation that I got, nobody was selling the way timeshare taught you how to sell. So I took those same fundamentals, applied it to residential, absolutely crushed. And it was fun, but I wanted to do other things. And I took that money, I bought property. I bought my first condo, I think, when I was like 19, something like that. And then I just kept on investing in real estate. Eventually got into education. The school grew significantly, rolled that into more investing. But now I'm focused on systems. I'm focused on more the discipline of creating systems, so that way I can kind of take a step back. Kind of like what you've done, Kobe.
Yeah, everybody's kind of following a similar path, I would say, in business in one way or another, right? When they're starting out, in the beginning, you have to learn, you have to first, I would say, actually unlearn a lot of the things you probably learned, just from not being in real estate or business, right? Kind of like how you did. And then you got to learn how to do everything the right way. And then you go back and, invest what you have back into yourself, into your business, and then also start teaching other people. as well. That's really how you start making an impact, building a network outside of yourself, as well. And then you systematize that. So I think it's very interesting because you mentioned the tremendous sales training that you have had through selling timeshares, right? So that's something that I don't think a lot of people know in the real estate industry. They don't understand that it's actually a really good place to get sales training is from timeshares. I certainly didn't know that, but it makes perfect sense. But what was that transition like, as you were learning the sales strategies, applying them, being successful in your personal business as an individual, how was that translated into also teaching new agents coming up, educating other people? Because we all know individuals, and I ask this to team leaders and brokers that are out there mostly, but you're an educator, so it kind of applies the same way. But we all know the people who are very successful as individuals, but they can't necessarily translate their success or impart their knowledge into new agents in their team, into other people they want to educate. Did you find yourself struggling with that in the beginning as well, or how did that transition look for you, going from an individual to success to being a successful educator or coach, imparting your knowledge to other people?
Man, that's a great way to frame it. You asked a lot of really great questions. It's kind of like the analogy of the all-star basketball player not being a great basketball coach, right?
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
And then the guys that can't do or don't want to do teach, right? If you can't do, then teach. Um, it was a new thing. It was a new challenge, and I'm the type of person I like a challenge, and I like something that pushes me to the edge. As far as the sales training from timeshare and how that translated to education, I wouldn't say that they're connected per se. I would say the psychology of sales. I would say this about sales: life is sales, right? Everybody thinks that they're not a salesperson. Everybody is. You've sold in one way, shape, or form throughout the course of your life. Have you ever been in a relationship? Right? That's a tremendous amount of sales, right? Have you ever been in an interview, had a job? You're selling yourself. It's just understanding how to sell a particular product. So understanding the power of persuasion. It's a beautiful thing once you figure it out. And tailoring, understanding the person sitting in front of you and saying this person, their buying motivations are different from this personality of person. And this is how I need to approach this situation based on the training that was provided to me. It's insane. It's almost surreal when it works and you've harnessed that power. It's a beautiful thing. Then you can apply it to everything in life. I would say that the personality of being a salesperson is what helped me become a great teacher. So being a public facing figure, sitting in front of dozens of families throughout the course of the week and having the confidence, or at least trying to exude the confidence, giving the perception of confidence to people that I know what I'm doing, right? Building credibility for yourself. I guess some things do translate to being a great educator because I had a horrible experience when I got my real estate license. I don't know about you. Kobe, you have a real estate license as well. I had somebody stand behind a podium and read me the entire flipping textbook cover to cover, cover to cover. I'm thinking, this is what I paid for? And this is a well known school at the time. They don't exist anymore. We're the oldest school in Central Florida, if not the state now. But man, they're old as dust. They read me the entire flipping textbook. I'm like, there's no value here. So I was on my own and I'm thinking, that always stuck in the back of my mind. I'm thinking I could add value here because I think being a great teacher, at least throughout your academic career, I think you can speak to this, Kobe. You remember the really horrible instructors and you remember the really amazing instructors that you've had, and nobody in between, right? They fall wayside. So I wanted to be a really great instructor and I wanted to be known for that. And I do a lot of things and I continue to do a lot of things, but I always provide education. and it's something I've always stuck with. I love doing it. I have a passion for it. It's my form of giving back. If I had to do it for free, I'd do it for free, and I do offer free education all the time. My wife nags me about it all the time. Nags is a bad word. Hopefully, she doesn't see this podcast. But what I'm saying is, I love to help people, and real estate is a people business. You know that better than anybody else, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, just being able to kind of fill in that gap is what I see a lot of people doing as far as starting new ventures or doing anything interesting in entrepreneurship and business, especially in real estate. Because, real estate, like you mentioned, people are getting their license, they're learning from people who were maybe in the business 50 years ago, right? Reading from a textbook. But I think it's much more important for agents to learn from those who are practicing, who are in the business, whatever it is they specialize in, because it is a very, it's a very active business and it's changing, and there's a lot of tech
Right.
coming into, a lot of changes coming into how marketing is done, how sales is done, even. And it's not like what it was, even 10 years ago, I would say, real estate. So, that's something that you guys have been doing, right? I know we were talking a little bit about this before the podcast as well. You guys are implementing a lot of tech and a lot of AI into your education and your courses. And I'm really curious to hear kind of what that looks like because, obviously we've seen AI and used in many different scenarios in real estate, but I haven't really seen it used or thought about it being used in education yet. So I'm really curious to see how you guys are actually using that.
Yeah, that's a great question. There's several ways. I think tech in education is huge, and I think the people that are not implementing are something is lost between the school and the student. I think people want it. I think it makes things easier for not just the student, but also to run your business more efficiently. So we're doing several things. We're rebuilding our own proprietary LMS, kind of version two of our own LMS. It's going very well. The foundation is based off of integrating AI. So it serves multiple purposes. Some things I can get into, some things I can't. But think about having a real estate instructor in your pocket at all times that you can ask any real estate related question. We know about Chat GPT, or GPTs in general, and creating your own custom GPT. So we're kind of doing one and the same, but controlling that in house and adding extraordinary value to the already excellent education, the exceptional education we've been providing for over 20 years. We just keep on enhancing. I want to push the boundaries of that and see how far we can go. And I think it's been resonating with the students. They're getting good use out of it. We have a subscription model for access to some of the AI stuff that we offer for exam prep, and students love it. They keep it even after they pass the state exam because they use it as a tool, a guide. Hey, what is follow up? What is a CMA? How can I use it in my business? Make me a social media post. It's capable of all of that. It's a beautiful thing, and I think whoever's in education is missing out on it. And if you're practicing real estate and not using AI, you are missing out big time.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. And, now that you guys are so involved in tech, do you have any advice for real estate agents who may be, they're not as tech savvy, right? Maybe they're not even quite on social media yet, but now with this whole AI thing coming out, they don't really know what to do, but they know they need to use it. Do you have any advice for agents just starting out trying to use AI? What are some of the easiest and most effective ways to leverage AI as a beginner?
I would say start messing around with OpenAI, ChatGPT, get familiar with what it is. If you want to take a course, great. Everything's free online. Okay. I know a lot, it's good to invest in yourself, but most you can find on YouTube, and you can learn about it at a very basic level, a beginner level, and just start playing around with it. And then you'll start getting excited about it, and then you'll crave knowledge, and then you're going to start asking questions that you didn't even know existed because you didn't know what it was capable of. So I would say start there. Start there. And for our students, we have it. It's already part of the CameronAcademy.com ecosystem that they'll have access to when they're one of our students. So I would say start with OpenAI. There's tons of AI platforms out there. There's Gemini. I was on the first wave of AI. As soon as it came out and what I saw it was capable of, I was all on it. But there's image generation. If you're not using it for social media as a real estate professional, what are you doing? It blows my mind. So start there and then progress, and you'll find a love for it. Don't rely completely on it. There has to be a human touch, a human element, but still inject it to save yourself time so you can become more efficient in your business.
Yeah, I mean, this. I love what you mentioned that there's so many free resources that are out there, right? You can just go on YouTube and find, hours and hours of training on things, and that's kind of what I've been doing as far as like educating myself as well. And it's incredible the amount of information that's out there for people to find, right? And it's just people who aren't able to learn things. They're just, I guess, they're just not trying at this point with the amount of information that's available. And it's pretty interesting because kind of going back into what you were just talking about as far as how you guys are leveraging tech and AI in your education. You mentioned that a lot of the students tend to keep their AI subscription with your platform even after they've passed their licensing course, right? Even after they've got their real estate license. It's very interesting because I from what we know and what we heard from agents coming out of real estate school, the biggest complaint they have about real estate licensing classes is that they don't teach them anything about how to actually run a real estate agent business, right? So is that a gap that you've seen as well, and not just from, the other educators that are out there, but also kind of from your own experience taking CE classes and your own licensing courses? And is that something that you guys are, obviously trying to uh, correct in your educational curriculum as well?
Yeah, it's great. And to recognize that is important because no two classes I teach or Cameron Academy teaches are the same. The students, their engagement, their participation, the questions they ask will dictate the pace of the class, the topics that we discuss. However, I do think that it's our job primarily as real estate educators to focus on fundamentals, principles and practices, rules, regulations, laws, and then the basic real estate math that you have to know. As long as those are covered, yeah, we go off the black and white in your textbook and talk about experience because of my background. If I'm providing the instruction for that particular class, I try to give them as much value as possible in the class. I talk about mistakes I've made, mistakes others have made when running their real estate business. Of course, they're not even thinking about that as an associate. You have to gain a certain amount of experience before you can open up your own brokerage office. But at least at an associate level, how they can carve out their own path. I try to give them that type of information. And of course, we don't teach how to sell, but I do touch on my sales experience, what's worked for me, and how they can utilize that to be successful in their own right. But real estate schools in general, no, they don't teach you how to sell the product. So I'm glad that you mentioned that because some people don't realize.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that brings us to like another really good question that I really wanted to kind of get your take on, which is, from an agent's perspective who's newer to the industry, right? Just got the real estate license, they're ready to go out there and sell some real estate, make some money in the industry, right? With, all the investments they've made into themselves, but they don't really know where to start, right? What would you suggest? Because education, as we all know, is something that is ongoing, right? You don't just get your real estate license and never learn another thing about real estate ever again. Um, in fact, you should probably start learning more now, right? Now that you do have your license. So, what are some of the things you would say are um, the best curriculums, the best skill sets that agents need to learn in the very beginning of their business to set the right foundation for them to be successful down the line?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. I would say we try to supplement some of that by having guest speakers in our classroom, people with that are running their own real estate brokerage companies, successful brokerage companies, and having a guest speaker speak to that is important because they can see the other side of the business, not just the formal education side, but hey, listen, what you learn in class and what you see in real life, two completely different things. You're in Texas, right? So Texas is 180 hours. You have, I mean, they say everything's bigger in Texas, right? And apparently so is the education. That's the most amount of hours for real estate education to get a license in the nation. I'm telling you that right now. If you're not aware of that, California is second with 135 hours. Um, but here in Florida, we only have 60 hours of instruction. So we have to utilize our time wisely, and we have to run a tight ship. But I would say once they get into the business, they have to find a brokerage company that has a culture, that has training. What I tell my students is you have choices. You can be picky. All right. You're a commodity. You're an asset to these. The only way brokerage companies can grow is with warm bodies. Okay. You know, with EXP, as many warm bodies as possible, right? Right. So it's all about your downline there. But same thing with other brokerage companies, just in a different way. So I would tell my students before you go out there, and if I can be a conduit, I will. I have brokerage companies, they're knocking down my door, timeshare resorts knocking down my door. We need new agents. We'll train them and so forth. So I say, hey, listen, when you get out there, people are going to start contacting you and giving you opportunities, right? Just as you have built into your marketing recruiting strategy. So be picky. Interview them just as much as they're interviewing you. And the three most important things you should focus on to get back on topic is training, commission, and leads, right? Do you offer initial training, but not just initial training? Do you offer some form of mentorship, right? Does that mentorship cost any money, right? Does that eat into my commissions? And that's the second item, right? What's your compensation plan? Is it scaled or is it a flat split? And then leads, which kind of might combine both of them, right? If I give you a lead or if the brokerage provides you a lead, do you take more of a split from me? Understand that going into the brokerage, understand what you're getting into, just gather data because they're going to be beating down your door as well, trying to bring you onto the brokerage company. So find out if it fits you, understand what culture they have, what training they provide. If the commission split is not as favorable as the next, are they supplementing that in any way? Are they giving you some additional training? Are they giving you leads? And that's why, so it's a give and take. You have to weigh out the pros and cons. But you're going to have, once you get your real estate license, you know this, you'll have no problem finding a brokerage company that will hire you. No problem. There's only few. What is it, like maybe Sotheby's International or Coldwell Bank or Keller Williams? Some of them, some of the franchises that don't take on new agents, but most every brokerage company has to have some form of training to take on new agents.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so glad that you guys are making your students aware of that as you get their license because, one of the things just from like the brokerage company or the recruiter's perspective as well, it's like it's really difficult conversation with the new agent coming in if they have no idea how it actually works to join a real estate company, right? It actually, because we're prepared on our side to be the person that's being interviewed, right? So at least I am. I don't know about all the other brokerages out there, but we tell agents in our marketing actually all the times like you need to be interviewing us instead of the other way around because we understand that you have your goals and you're an independent contractor and you're a business owner yourself, so what is it that we can help you with instead of kind of the other way around where they're expecting us to tell them to do anything and then just pay them a salary at that point.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I don't know how much you focus on telling these new agents to build their own brand, right? And how much you focus on marketing, but marketing is huge, right? There was a famous study that was done by one of these major elite universities, and the study was about why sellers chose a real estate agent to list their property that they found online versus all the other ones that exist on the online platforms, whatever it may be, Facebook, Google, and so forth. And you'd be surprised what the number one reason why they hired a listing agent was. It wasn't based on reviews, it was based on their profile picture. So you are getting prejudged. It has to be something that you make your agents aware of. Uh, you have to look professional at all times, high quality, high resolution. What picture are you painting to the public? I just came across a real estate agent. One of their profile picture is them on a surfboard with their shirt off, riding a wave. It's gimmicky, right? But who are they trying to sell to? They're trying to promote beach life, right? I could sell you a coastal property and so forth. You go to Hawaii. What are real estate agents wearing in Hawaii? You think to be wearing a suit, right? Because that's what the profession dictates. No, they're all wearing flipping Hawaiian shirts with a flower lei, with tropical backgrounds. What are you selling? So you got to be aware of that in all forms of marketing, promotional items. I've gone crazy with marketing. I've done every marketing under the sun. I know what works and what doesn't work, but I try to guide my students on what they need to be focused on, what they need to be aware of when they get out there. They're always being judged, perceived, the car they drive, everything. And it's sad to a certain extent. It's a little bit degrading, but it doesn't take away from the fact that it's the truth.
Yeah, you have to target, appeal to the specific target market that you're trying to, you're trying to bring in as your customer or client base, right? Like you mentioned, agents in Hawaii, they're wearing tropical shirts. That's, that's kind of all you see. In Texas here, you see the cowboy hats and the bolo ties, right? All those different
I'm gonna use
things.
that in class, by the way. I'm gonna remember that and use that in class. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you see
I went
that
to
all.
Texas not that long ago. I was in Dallas and I did see real estate agents, the flipping cowboy hat on, and I'm like, okay, this is classic Texas here. So yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah. So you have to, you have to appeal to the audience, right? What do they see as somebody that they can help, that can help them, right? So it's not always what, you think, or it's not all going to be the same across the board. So, I think it's very important, and maybe you can touch on this a little bit as well, finding your niche and your brand, right? We definitely, one of the biggest things that I teach newer agents is just you got to figure out who you're trying to target. Because if you're trying to target everybody, it's really, you're really trying to target nobody, right? So, what is your take on finding a niche and a brand, especially as somebody who is newer? Because I do feel that it's tougher for a new agent to, especially if they don't have any real estate experience, to find a niche or to find a target market or target an avatar of customers or clients that they can really go after.
Yeah, I would say to my students, you start with your sphere of influence, right? What's the old saying? Your network is your
Net worth.
friends and family are your best leads. You start there, but you have to be bold enough to have these conversations with people, right? That's where it's lacking. So I think people that don't have that background, they don't know how to approach, or it's a mindset shift sometimes. And it really does have to start with mindset and shifting your perspective on things and wearing that hat and always wearing that hat in all circumstances, because you never know what situation you come across, what conversation you'll have where you just mention, oh, yeah, by the way, I'm a real estate agent. They don't know unless you tell them, right? And it opens up the doors to so many possibilities. I've always been like that. I don't know about you, but I always like to talk about what I'm doing. I think it holds you accountable. So, and most people around me, they'll say, "Don't say it until it's real, right? You're gonna jinx it and all this stuff." I don't believe in that. I believe it opens up possibilities if you talk about what you're doing. And I like to be a person that is known for doing what I talk about and not just saying it, right? I would say sales is right after that. So mindset is number one, and then sales. You got. I can recommend a ton of books. I mean, just in the past year, I've probably, let me see how many books I've read. Probably about 30 different books, and I just really started getting back into this. Let me see. I read Super Brain, Blue Ocean Strategy, a whole bunch of millionaire books just for kicks and giggles. Next Door, Fast Lane, Master Plan, Traction, The One Thing, Time is Money, Your Next Five Moves. That's like, I think, a Patrick Bet David thing. Scientific Advertising. I read Art of War again. Hypomanic Edge. Don't recommend it. It's just like a history book. Levels of Leadership. Subtle Art of Not Giving a F. I don't know if this is PG rated or not, so I'm not going to curse on your channel. But yeah, this is like a lot of those books that I was reading is just mindset, creating systems. And even as a new agent, you're running it like your own business. So you have to create a system that works for you. You know, you can't completely rely on the brokerage. You have to be a go-getter. You have to be self-motivated. Otherwise, real estate is not for everybody. Sales is not for everybody. It's hard to say that in this position as a real estate instructor where I want to cast a wide net and have as many people take my class as possible. You can try it and see out, see if you like it. And I think, just as a side note, the education we provide, everybody needs. After you took the real estate class, you're like, why didn't I know this? Because doesn't everybody, almost everybody, want to buy a house one day? We're not all following, the Cardones that say, oh, rent where you live and then blah blah blah, invest outside of that. Most people want to own, right? So why not have the tools to protect yourself and the people you care about most in the real estate transaction? That's important. Education is key. Education is important. But anyhow, sorry, I get a little bit ranty.
No, it's all good, man. I think you offer a ton of value for everybody who's listening and watching this today. There's so much experience that you can share as an educator and the perspective that you're coming from. And I love that you mentioned that mindset comes first, right? And then sales skill sets, because if you don't have the right mindset, you can have all the skill sets that you want, or it actually might be difficult for you to acquire those skill sets and put them into action if you don't have the mindset to actually follow through and apply them once you do acquire those skills as well. But man, thank you, Michael, so much for being on the show today and offering the advice and the value that you have. You're an educator at heart, and you're always teaching, providing some sort of education, some sort of tips and advice. And for anybody who is watching or listening to this that want to be part of one of your programs, that want to learn more about some of the free education programs that you're providing, what are some of the best ways for people to either follow you or to just learn more about what you guys are doing with your multiple different companies?
I would say visit CameronAcademy.com. We have a search tool on the home page. You can find various professions in any state you're looking to be licensed in, and you start there. I would mention this before we wrap things up in regard to education, and we haven't even gotten to the some of the details uh, with respect to really building a successful and passive income business in real estate. I would love the opportunity to share a little bit more about that, maybe in the next episode. But for now, visit CameronAcademy.com. We offer mortgage, real estate, insurance, financial licensing nationwide. We're the top education provider in the nation. We've been around for over 20 years, and we're always here to help. We have a dedicated team of people that really care about getting you top quality education. And I look forward to seeing you in the future, Kobe. Thank you for having me on the show. It's been an amazing experience. And thank you to the audience. Hopefully, they got some value out of this.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Appreciate you as well. Make sure to leave a link to that in the description down below. And we'll definitely have you back on sometime, Michael. You've offered a ton of value today, and I think you can offer a ton more just based on everything that you've done and you're currently doing and that you will continue to do moving into the future as well. But before we let you wrap up just today, do you have any last pieces of advice, any last tips you want to leave with the audience before I let you sign off?
I would say that once again, education is the most important thing. Don't take it for granted. There's a reason why these phrases exist since the beginning of time. Knowledge is power. And I know it sounds cliche and all of that stuff, but it really starts with education. You start with that, you change your mindset, and then it's going to change your trajectory, and you'll notice that your life is going to drastically change. So you're working that 9 to 5. You want to get out of that rut. You want to get out of that, that rat race and so forth. You got to start with the education, and this is what we focus on. And hopefully that resonates with you guys. Read great books, learn from top educators in their space. They make these books for a reason. I'm going to launch a book soon to bring even more value. And I look forward to seeing you guys next time.
Awesome, man. It's great advice. Thank you, Michael, again for being on the show. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you on the next show. Take care.
Take care.